Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you guys wanted my review of Dragon Quest 1 HD-2D Remake, and here it is. I must start this video off by saying, if you are looking for an unbiased review, you came to the wrong place. Dragon Quest 1, also known as Dragon Warrior, when I played it originally on the NES, is the first JRPG I ever played. I played this game before I was old enough to read. I played this game before I was old enough to know what was going on in the game. Back then, it was just seeing new monsters and exploring more of the world that kept me moving forward. That sense of exploration is something that has been instilled in me ever since I first played it. And that's what I expect from kind of all JRPGs, is that massive sense of exploration, and I love the grind because of it as well. Grinding is something that I find almost therapeutic because of Dragon Quest 1 or Dragon Warrior on the NES. Because the original game was basically just grinding and then picking up a few items and then beating the final boss. Despite the world itself feeling lived in with all the NPCs and their dialogue, the story was far and few between in Dragon Quest 1, but that's okay. It was up to you, the player, to make the story, to make the adventure yourself. Yuji Horii said it himself. Check out my videos talking about the creation of Dragon Quest 1 and my other video talking about the creation of Dragon Quest 2. In his own words, he describes how it's up to the player to have the adventure themselves. That's what I did, and that's honestly what drew me into this franchise way back when I first played this as a little kid. And because of all this, of course, this is not going to be an unbiased review. At the end, I will kind of give the game a score. I normally don't give games scores, but I'll kind of give it a score out of 10, and I'll also give it a score out of 10 what I think people who aren't Dragon Quest fans, aren't people who love this series as much as I do, might think of the game. But anyways, if you enjoy Dragon Quest content, top 10 videos, reviews, podcasts, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next video. If you're on mobile, please hype the video because it helps out so much. Now let's begin. So what can I say? This is the greatest remake of all time. Definitely the best remake I've ever played. They added so much to this game without taking anything away. Wait, that's a lie. The fairy flute does not make the fairy flute jingle. What were you thinking, Square Enix? What were you thinking? But seriously, that's like my only real critique. Overall, everything that they added to the game is stuff that could have been there in the original, stuff that we could have imagined being there or could have fleshed out with our own imaginations being there. And they added so many like new characters that I absolutely love. All these new characters add so much to the experience as well. It gives you more reasons to push on and explore this vast, amazing world that I feel like I've lived in since I was 5 years old. It makes you feel the pain that the characters of this world are feeling caused by the Dragon Lord and his minions. It makes you want to prove people wrong, that you are the descendant of Erdrick and that you can do this on your own. Because that's what this is. Dragon Quest 1 is a solo journey. When they originally made the original Dragon Quest, Yuji Horii wanted to have a party originally because he figured maybe people would find it boring just having one character to control the entire time. But then he realized that this would be the first RPG on the NES, and he didn't want to overwhelm players who are just playing it on a controller instead of a keyboard for the first time, and he figured the best way to do this was to kind of get their feet wet with a single character game. And they absolutely nailed it in the original, and they absolutely nailed it here. The original kind of makes you feel like a badass because you're just a one-man army up against the Dragon Lord and his minions, and this one makes you feel even more like a badass because right from the get-go you swoop in and rescue this group of warriors who are trying to take down the Dragon Lord themselves but are no match for his minions. There's so many times where terrible things are happening to the people of Alefgard, and you swoop in right at the last second or right after some horrible things happen. You come in and prevent further damage from happening to these people. It just makes you feel even more for the world and its inhabitants than the original did, and I love that so much. To me, that's all the original was really missing, is more of kind of that human element to it, and this really fleshes that out. It fleshes out how great of a hero the hero from Dragon Quest 1 is. It fleshes out how untrusting and almost hopeless the world seems in Dragon Quest 1, and that was in the original as well. Some people might think that that was was something that was added here in the remake. No, a lot of people in the original, a lot of the characters you would speak to would talk about how hopeless it is that the Dragon Lord has taken over and that there's nothing that can be done about it. There's tons of people that are always telling you stuff like, will anyone ever be able to face off against the evil of the Dragon Lord and his minions? And nobody really believes in you until closer to the end of the game. And in this remake, they do such a good job of showing that as well. The first like 2/3 of the game, everyone doubts you, except the people that see firsthand what you are capable of. Nobody thinks that one dude is going to be able to take on the Dragon Lord, let alone his entire army that you now have to face off against multiple members of each time you go into battle. They gave you a ton of new abilities, a ton of new spells. They added boomerangs to the game, whips to the game to make it much more manageable to take out multiple enemies per encounter. And I gotta say, that just makes me feel even more like a complete badass. Like, you feel like a Terminator in this game, man. Not only that, but you stand for the ultimate justice. Anytime something bad happens, you are there to save the day. You're gonna do everything in your power to protect this world. And it does such a good job of also showing moments where it's like, yeah, it's one man trying to protect this world, so he can't be everywhere all the time. Bad things are gonna happen to people despite your best efforts. You can't save everyone and protect everyone all the time. The story was so well done, coming from a game that I love so much that didn't have much of a story. What they added here was incredible. This just like took everything I imagined as a child and like cranked it up to 11. It was so well done. Be sure to check out my guide on how to keep Princess Gwaelin, because I gotta say, Princess Gwaelin in this game is so awesome. I absolutely love her. She went from like a throwaway, almost joke character to me in the original into a character that is probably one of my favorite female characters in the Dragon Quest series. She's just so charming and so encouraging, and I absolutely love her. She's just constantly gassing you up, telling you how amazing you are when the whole world doubts you. Princess Gwaelin has your back. And in the late part of the game, she gets the ability to kind of show her love and protect you and give you the ability to use the most powerful move in the game without needing the regular prerequisites. So I absolutely love Gwaelin. Definitely recommend getting the Gwaelin ending and checking out my guide. If you missed Gwaelin, that's okay. I also posted both Gwaelin endings on my YouTube channel, the bad ending and the good ending and the Dragon Lord fight, so you can see how she performs in the battle. She doesn't battle with you. She's not necessarily a party member. It is still a solo endeavor, but her love and support are so greatly appreciated, and you can really see that in the Dragon Lord final boss fight. Don't worry, I got both endings in one video, so just check that out after this. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I feel at home in the world of Alefgard, and Tantagel Castle is my starting point in the JRPG genre, so I feel like it's my hometown. Even when I played Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, the moment we get back to Alefgard in Tantagel Castle, it was just so heartwarming to be there for the first time in HD-2D, and now to get to spend an entire other game in this world that feels like I'm coming home for the holidays to spend it in my old house that I grew up in my old town that I grew up in, hanging out with all my friends, the community, the townspeople, the world that I grew up in. It just feels so amazing. This was absolutely the perfect remake in pretty much every way. I can't think of anything they could have done to make this game better. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, however. I can't do that because I don't give 10 out of 10s, first of all. So when you hear my rating, don't think it's a bad game. I love plenty of games that I would rate a 6 out of 10, okay? The story was amazing. The characters were amazing. All the extra content, you have like the mini medals, you have the scrolls that make you want to search every last nook and cranny of the world so that you can get not only just all the treasure, which is amazing, but a lot of these treasure chests contain scrolls that'll teach you new abilities and magic spells that will completely change the game for you. Like, I don't think I would have been able to beat the game without the meditation scroll. So these scrolls add a ton to the experience as well. And I feel like I haven't started Dragon Quest II HD-2D Remake yet, so I can't say for certain, but I feel like just like when they made Dragon Quest I, and they wanted it to be that single character experience to get you ready for the next game, I really feel like that's kind of what they're going for with this one as well. I feel like you had all these new mechanics that we're learning throughout the course of this game, and I feel like now that we have them learned, we're ready to embark on our next journey in Dragon Quest II HD-2D Remake, and I can't wait to start that one as well. I'm not a huge Dragon Quest II fan, so I'm excited to see how they've improved upon it. But like I said, I absolutely love Dragon Quest I, and this HD-2D Remake was phenomenal. So before we finish here, I do want to give it a score out of 10, because a lot of people have been asking me, what would I rate it out of 10? And I also want to get into how I think it would compare against Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster, because I have my Dragon Quest versus Final Fantasy series here on the channel, and I said in that video, if the Dragon Quest I HD-2D Remake changed a lot, I would have to kind of recompare it to Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster. For those of you that don't know the series, I take the most recent and accessible version of Dragon Quest I and pit it against the same with Final Fantasy I, and then the same with Dragon Quest II versus Final Fantasy II, Dragon Quest III versus Final Fantasy III. I'm currently working on Dragon Quest IV versus Final Fantasy IV. It will take some time yet, so stay tuned for that, but it's so difficult. I love Final Fantasy I so much, and that Pixel Remaster was an absolute blast. I've played through that so many times already. I don't know, man. It's hard. I would probably put it at a tie. I can't. Final Fantasy I in that video beat Dragon Quest I. It's just a better game, the Pixel Remaster. I feel like it's a lot more fun than Dragon Quest I, and I love Dragon Quest I, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it, but I feel like the Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster is just a blast to play through. But now, in my heart, I think Dragon Quest I HD-2D Remake beats Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster, like emotionally and spiritually, but I think as a game overall, I think they're probably on par, because you guys just don't understand how much I love Final Fantasy I as well. That's really hard for me to actually rank them. Definitely a lot more effort was put into this remake than was put into the Final Fantasy I Pixel Remaster. But yeah, I think if I had to choose, I would say Dragon Quest I HD-2D is better. That's not to crap on either game. I love them both so much. But now for what I would rank Dragon Quest I HD-2D Remake out of 10, and I am going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. This is as good as it could get, honestly. I don't think Dragon Quest I can get better than an 8.5 out of 10. It's basically the first JRPG, right? If you did anything to make this a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 game, I think it would ruin what Dragon Quest I was. You would have to take things out of the game, and I think that would ruin it, and then again, not make it a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 game. I think it is impossible for Dragon Quest I to be a 9 out of 10 game. It came out in like 1986 or something like that. It's not that it's bad at all. It is one of, if not the most important and influential games of all time, and this is the best version of that by far. This is the best we will ever get of Dragon Quest I, and I am so happy to have experienced it. And I also want to thank Square Enix for providing me with a review copy of this game. And before we wrap up, what do I think a regular person would rate this game out of 10? I think for someone that's new to the franchise, hasn't played any of the Dragon Quest games, or maybe just played Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, I guess it depends. It depends what you thought of that. I think this is better than Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, but I love Dragon Quest I more than I love Dragon Quest III. I think if you're new to the franchise, you love JRPGs, but you've never played a Dragon Quest game, and this was your first Dragon Quest game, I think this would be like a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10 for you. I think everything is here that anyone would love. The only issues probably I would have is that there's definitely some balance issues. Like the first half of the game feels very easy, like too easy, and then the second half, the difficulty like really ramps up. It gets really tough in the second half, which is fine because you want to like learn the game in those easy parts, but I feel like it could have been more of like a balanced even curve. Instead, it's like a giant step. there's like two big steps. So the first third of the game, really, really easy. You can just waltz through. The second third of the game, there's definitely a big, steep difficulty increase, and then the final third is a huge difficulty increase. But check my channel out. I've got a ton of guides here on the channel that should help you out. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next video. And thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.